everybody, welcome to this next video of TV top telly, top Christmas telly TV, and of 95 and 96, and the top 10 toys of the 90s. And I'm sorry I didn't do a video last week. I was just having a really quiet, relaxing day, and I really enjoyed it. And I just decided that, yeah, you know, I just wanted a quiet day to chill out and relax. But I will be doing the Doctor Who video after this one, so that tomorrow I can just have another quiet day, chill out, go to church and everything else. I hope everyone had a good day on Sunday. So, here are the top 10 toys that were of the 90s. At number 10 you had the yo-yo. At number 9 you had Bop It. At number 8 you had Polly Pocket. 7 was Creepy Crawlies. 6 was the Beano Babies. At 5 was Pogs. And at number 4 was Super Soakers. 3 were Nerf Guns. Number 2 was the Game Boy. And number 1 was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, I think we had over here. I wasn't quite sure. Yeah. Now on with the top telly of 1995 and 1996. On Christmas Eve, on BBC One, you had... Sorry, I put this all around the wrong way. Sorry, I'll get this right. Yes, here we go. Christmas Eve started off, and it was actually on a Sunday and because Christmas Eve was on a Sunday this year. So yeah, it started off with at 7:30 with the Pink Panther film. 9:25 was the news and weather. The Promise of His Glory was at 9:30. The film Oliver was at 10:15. At 12:35 was a Flintstones Family Christmas. At 1:15 was Noel's Christmas Past. 2:15 was the EastEnders Omnibus. That's when we used to have the EastEnders Omnibus on a Sunday. You had E.T. the Extraterrestrial on at 20 to 4. 5:30 was Antiques Roadshow The Next Generation. That's where they did the Antiques Roadshow, like for the kids. And yeah, you had the news and weather at 6:15. Then you had the regional news at 6:30. Christmas with Cliff at 6:35. Last of the Summer Wine was at 7:15. 2.4 Children was at 8:15. PJ Woodhouse Heavy Weather was at 8:45. Then you had the news and weather at 10:20. A Morecambe and Wise repeat at 10:35. The First Communion and Mass was at 11:40. The film The Rear Window was at 12:50. Then that was followed at 2:40 in the morning by the weather, and then BBC closed down at 2:45. This is 1995, by the way. On BBC One on Christmas Day, started off with Children's BBC at 6 AM with Poddington Peas. 6:05 was Bump's Christmas Story. Moomin was at 6:15. White Christmas at 6:40. 7:10 was Playdays. PJ's Unfunny Bunny Christmas was at 7:30. 7:55 was McGee and Me. 8:15 was the Flintstones. 9:25 was the movie game with John Barrowman. 10 o'clock was Christmas Day in the morning. 10:55 was The Never-Ending Story, the film The Never-Ending Story. Neighbours was on at 12:25. News and weather at 12:50. 12:55 was Top of the Pops. Only Fools and Horses was at 5 to 2. The Queen was at 3 o'clock. At 3:10 was Noel's Christmas Presents. That was followed by the news and weather at 4:20 in the afternoon. At 4:30 you had the film Hook. Now I remember this film. I've got this film somewhere, but if I'm honest, I was never a big fan of it. I don't know why. I mean, I got it for Christmas one year, and I sat and enjoyed it, and I watched it, but it just seemed to be, even though it was a Steven Spielberg film, there was just something missing about that film. There was just something off about it. I don't know what, I couldn't quite work out what it was. At 6:45 was Auntie's Good Brand New Bloomers. That was like a little comedy clip of things going wrong. A bit like It'll Be Alright on the Night or something, sorry, excuse me, Sorry, I do apologise. Yeah, something wrong. Something going wrong. Could be a technical issue. It could be someone fluffing up their lines or something like that. At 7:30 was EastEnders. At 8 o'clock was Keeping Up Appearances. At 8:30 was EastEnders again. One Foot in the Grave at 9. The News and Weather was at 10 o'clock. At 10:10 was the film Indecent Proposal. I have never actually seen this film. Not one bit of it. I know what it's about. Robert Redford offered Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson £1 million so he could spend the one night with her. And that's all I know about the film. I've never seen this film at all in my life. That was followed at 12 o'clock by I Hate Christmas. At 12:05 was The Greatest Music Party in the World. At 1:35 you had the weather, and BBC closed down at 1:40. On Boxing Day, if I can get it, again I apologise for fluffing. That's going to probably come down as one of the most embarrassing moments ever. If I can get this, sorry, I do apologise for this. They're all stuck together, I think. Yep, here we go. Boxing Day. Boxing Day on BBC One. Start on Tuesday the 26th, 1995. Children's BBC started the day off at 7 a.m. with Tales of the Two Fairies, The Greedy Saurus Gang at 7:05. 7:10 was The Snow Queen. 7:35 with Opus and Bill. Fireman Sam was at 8. Playdays was 8:20. White Christmas was at 20 to 8. Peter Pan and the Pirates was at 9:10. Eek the Cat was at 9:55. Oh no, sorry. 9:30 was The Legend of Prince Valiant. Eek the Cat at 9:55. Record Breakers at 10:20. The film The Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machine was at 10:45. The News and Weather was at 12:50. Yeah, then that was followed by the regional News and Weather at 12:55. Then at 1 o'clock was Neighbours. 1:20 was The Two Ronnies. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was at 2:10. That was followed by Disney Time at 4:10. Then at 4:50 was The Final Score. The News and Weather at 5:15. 5:20 was the regional News and Weather. That was followed by a cartoon at 5:30. Neighbours at 5:40. 6:05 Beethoven, which is again another film I have never seen in my life. I know it's about a dog, but I've never seen it. It just didn't appeal to me at all. Goodnight Sweetheart, that was the comedy film with Nicholas Lyndhurst, which he had the ability to go back in time to the Second World War. Dervla Kirwan starred in that. You might know her from Balak's Angel, and he had the thing to go back in time to the Second World War. The Thin Blue Line with Rowan Atkinson at 8:50. That was followed by the Patriot Games at 9:20. That's when Harrison Ford took over Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan. That was followed by the News at 11:10. 11:25 was Clockwise. That's when John Cleese played the headmaster, and he had to get to a meeting or something, and things kept happening, and he was late. And it's actually quite a really funny film. It's a John Cleese film. Yeah. At 1 a.m. was Lisa Stanfield in concert. Then that was followed at 2 o'clock in the morning by the News. Then at 2:05, BBC One closed down. Sorry, it's going all over the place. Again, my apologies. Oh, sorry. Again, I apologise. Bits of paper flying all over the place. Meanwhile, over on ITV, Saturday the 29th of December 1995, Christmas Eve. It started off with 6 a.m. GMTV. That was you had the Sunday Review, the Sunday programme. Then at 8 a.m. that was at 6 o'clock and 7 a.m. 8 a.m. was the Disney Adventures. Bigfoot was at 9:25. 10:15 was Link. At 10:30 This Is Sunday. 11 a.m. Morning Worship. 12:30 was The Elf Who Saved Christmas. News and Weather at 1. Regional News at 1:05. At 1:10 was Hollywood's Greatest Stunts. At 10:02, was the Disney film Sword and Stone. The James Bond film was at 20 to 4 with The Spy Who Loved Me. News and Weather at 6. Regional News at 10 past 6. Michael Ball was at 6:15. Christmas Heartbeat was at 7:15. You've Been Framed Christmas Special was at 8:15. Then you had the series Taggart. That was a series that was starred the Scottish guy Mark McManus, but unfortunately 2 years previous I think it was 2 years previous he passed away. But they still carried on with the programme and still called it Taggart, rather than calling it something else. That was followed by the news and regional news at 10:15. At 10:25 was the Cable Family Christmas. This Christmas Eve was at 11:55. That was a kind of a worship service. At 12:55, this was when ITV carried on 24 hours through the night. They were some films. 12:55 was Running Against Time. 2:40 in the morning was the Agatha Christie film Dead Man's Folly. The Elm Chanted Forest was at 4:25. Then at 5:55 was the news. On Christmas Day on ITV, GMTV started at 6 a.m. That was the news. Then you had feature special at 5 past 6. 7 a.m. the news. At 5 past 7 was the kids programs. Barney. 7:30 Tom and Jerry Kids. Galaxy High was at 7:30. Oh no, that was 7:30 was Tom and Jerry Kids. 8 a.m. was Galaxy High. 8:30 was Starlet and the Jewel Riders. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was at 8:55. 9:25 was Christmas Morning Worship. The Little Engine That Could was at 10:25. 11 a.m. was Bugs Bunny's Christmas Tales. Herbie Rides Again was a film, and that was at 11:30. Cartoons was at 5 past 11. 1:15 was the news and weather. The soap opera Coronation Street was at 1:15. Take That at Earl's Court was at 1:55. The Queen was at 3. That's the same Queen that does the Queen morning service over on BBC One and ITV. At 3:10 was the Ghostbusters film Ghostbusters 2. News and weather at 5. The Wind in the Willows was at 5 past 5. That was the new adaptation they did back then, not about 30 years ago, with Rick Mail playing the voice of the Toad. Christmas in Coronation Street was at 6:30. Robson and Jerome Christmas Special. The film Sister Act was at 8 p.m. 9:55 was the news. Outside Edge was at 10 p.m. 11 p.m. was the film Scenes from a Mall. Trench Coat was at 12:35 in the morning. 2:15 was Cortege. Never heard that one before. 4:15 was the film Snow White. That's not the Disney one, that's another adaptation. News was at 5:55. On Boxing Day, now people, if I have got people out there watching who are not familiar with what Boxing Day is just another bank holiday, but there is a meaning about it, and one of them is that when the servants collected their boxes, when their masters gave them their boxes, they had the Boxing Day off, and that's where that's one of the many theories of what Boxing Day is about. There are so many others, but I'll discuss them later. But that is quite familiar. That is what Boxing Day is. But also it's just another bank holiday as well. So, yeah. The day started off with at 6 a.m. with GMTV. News and feature special at 5 past 6. News at 7 a.m. 7:30 was Barney. 8 a.m. was Grange Hill. That's another programme on another channel. Sorry about that. Galaxy High. That's the Galaxy High School cartoon. That was at 8 a.m. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was 8:55. 9:25 was Mole's Christmas. 9:55 was Tailspin. 10:20 was The Forgotten Toys. That's the one with Joanna Lumley and Bob Hoskins. Bob Hoskins was the one about the teddy bear. And Joanna Lumley played the doll, I think it was. And yeah, that was quite a little good cartoon, that, because they turned it into a series. 10:50 was The Snow Queen. 12:20 was the news. Emmerdale was at 12:30. That's another soap. Take That at Earl's Court was repeated at 1 p.m. 2:05 was The Return of the Pink Panther. 4:10 was the film Her Alibi. That was followed by the news at 5:50 in the evening. In the evening. 7 p.m. was, or 6 p.m. was GoldenEye, The Secret Files. That's when James Bond returned to the cinema. 7 p.m. was Christmas in Emmerdale. 8 p.m. was Michael Barrymore, My Kind of People. Cadfile, that was the series about the monk, starring Derek Jacobi. That was at 8:30. That was followed by the Beatles anthology at 10 p.m. The news was at 11. The film Dead Poets Society was at 11:10. That's the film with Robin Williams. Midnight Crossing was at 1:35. Trick of the Trade was at 3:20. It's Christmas, It's Number One was at 5 o'clock, and the news was at 5:55. So that was 1995. It wasn't a bad year. It wasn't a great year, but yeah. And I'm sorry for my demeanour. I'm in my pyjamas, and to be honest, I couldn't be bothered to get dressed, and yeah, I couldn't be bothered, to be honest, today. I do apologise. I was having a really lazy day, and I decided to get on with this video and just, yeah, 1996. Yeah, 1996, Christmas Eve was on a Tuesday. Yeah, got the actual TV guide here for 1996. On BBC One, the day started off with the news. 7:10 was Children's BBC with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, narrated by Bert Ives. 8 a.m. was the news. Then that was followed by the regional news and weather. Barney at 8:10. 8:15 was the Bears Who Saved Christmas. 8:40 was the X-Men. 9 o'clock was the news, regional news and weather. 9:05 was the Incredible Games. Blue Peter, now that's been going on for a while. I think that's been going on for about 50 or 60 years, just like Doctor Who, because next week the Doctor Who special start. Next Saturday, 6:30 on BBC One, and then I think the rest of the world, Disney Plus have got Doctor Who now, so you can watch it on that. It's called The Star Beast, by the way. Then at 10 o'clock was Playdays. Then it was the night before Christmas, the making of Jurassic Park, because that year they actually had the first showing of British television of Jurassic Park. That was at 11:15. Joy to the World at 12. 1 Joy to the World at 12. 1 p.m. was the news and weather. 1:15 was Neighbours. At 1:40 was Star Trek the Motion Picture. 3:55 was the film premiere of Super Mario Brothers. At 5:35 was Neighbours. 6 o'clock was the news. 6:15 was the regional news and weather. 6:30 was the British Empire Christmas special. 7 o'clock was All Best for Christmas with Brian Connolly. A Question of Sport Christmas special was at 8. 8:30 was EastEnders. 9 o'clock was the film Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone. 10:40 was the news. 11 o'clock was the Mrs. Merton Christmas special. 11:30 was Christmas Midnight Mass. Then that was followed by at 12:50 by The Birds, the Alfred Hitchcock classic film, The Birds. Then that was followed by the news. No, that was followed by the weather. Then BBC closed down for the evening. Sorry about that. On ITV, you had GMTV. Anthea Turner makes her final appearance as GMTV's news presenter magazine. Didn't know that. 9:25 was Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. 9:50 was Hollywood's Greatest Stunts. Then at 10:50 was the regional news and weather. 11 o'clock was Batman Mask of the Phantasm. That is actually one of the best Batman films ever. I have to admit that. It is an animation, but it is one of, next up to Michael Keaton's Batman, that is one of the great Batman films. At 12:25 was regional news and weather. 12:35 was the lunchtime news. 1 o'clock was the Coronation Street. 1:30 was the Christmas Star. 3:30 was Agatha Christie's Murder in 3 Acts. 5:10 was Crosswits. At 5:40 was the early evening news. 6 o'clock was Granada Tonight or London Tonight or something, if whatever region you're in. That's before ITV that was before Carlton and Granada Television went into one, and they got rid of all the regional news and whatever, which I think was personally a real shame, because I actually miss London weekend television. I think I've said this before, because I think that was a mistake, them getting rid of that, because as soon as the weekend started, or 5:45 or 5:15 or whatever it was, that's when you knew the weekend started, and that's when, yeah. At 6:30 was Wheel of Fortune. Emmerdale at Christmas was 7. The Bill at 8. 8:30 was For One Night Only, Tom Jones. 9:30 was the news. The film Top Gun. Again, I have never seen this film at all. I've never really been appealed to Tom Cruise. Then saying that, I do like the Mission Impossible films. And Jack Reacher, the first these two ones of them. But I've never been a huge fan of Tom Cruise. So, yeah. 11:45 was Good Tidings of Great Joy. Pavarotti Macedonia at 12:45. Bite the Bullet at 1:45. That was a film with Gene Hackman. 4:10 was Bushel on the Box. A Christmas Carol was at 4:40. Then that was followed by the news at 5:55. 1996 was the year when they did the Father Ted Christmas special as well. I remember that, and that was so funny. That is actually, if you go back on one of my 80s Christmas videos, I actually do talk about it. The line, the delivery, a pair of women's fucking knickers, is absolutely hilarious when Father Jack says it, when Father Ted asks him what he thinks is inside the advent calendar the next day, and he just comes out with it, and it's just so funny. Honestly, it's just such a funny line. Sorry. Christmas Day on BBC One started the day off at 6 o'clock with Children's BBC, Joe 90 at 6 o'clock. That's when Gene, the fellow who created the Thunderbirds, had a huge resurgence. Talking about Christmas toys, that's when Thunderbirds was first introduced, and it became a thing. I don't know where, all of a sudden it became a thing. And actually Blue Peter and Thea Turner came up with their own Tracy Island, and yeah, it's brilliant. 6 o'clock, Joe 90. A Christmas Time, 6:25. Playdates is at 10 to 7. 10 past 7, Fireman Sam. 7:35, Christmas Time. 8 o'clock, The Littlest Pet Shop. Eek the Cat at 8:20. 8:45, Sweet Valley High. 9:30 was The Mask. No, 9:05 was The Mask. 9:30, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. 10:20, Christmas Day in the Morning. 11:20, The Wizard of Oz. 1 o'clock, that's the film, by the way. 1 o'clock was the news and weather. Top of the Pops was at 2. Keeping Up Appearances, no, Top of the Pops was at 1:05. Keeping Up Appearances was at 2. The Queen at 3. Noel's Christmas Presents at 3:10. A Bramley Hedge Winter Story was at 4:15. Then that was followed by the news and weather at 4:40 to 4:50. Then you had Animal Hospital Goes West. I won't mention who's in that. 5:40 was Auntie's All New Christmas Bloomers. Jurassic Park was at 6:30. 8:30 EastEnders. 9 o'clock was the finale trilogy of Only Fools and Horses. The Vicar of Dibley Christmas Special was at 10. 10:45 was the news. 10:55 was the Morecambe White's Christmas Show. Revenge of the Pink Panther was at 12. 1:35 was the Christmas Epilogue. 1:40 was the comedy film. 1:40 Please Sir. Then that finished at 3:20 was the weather, and then BBC closed down. Yeah, that was actually a pretty good lineup for BBC. Over on ITV, GMTV started the day off with the news. GMTV Review at 6:10. 7:30 was Barney and Friends. Bug Alert at 8 o'clock. 8:30 We Wish You a Merry Christmas was at 8:30. 9:25 was a cartoon. GMTV finished then. 9:25. 9:30 Away in a Manger. Christmas with the Royal Navy at 10:30. Percy the Park Keeper was at 10:50. Alice in Wonderland, that's the Disney classic, at 11:20. 12:40 was the News and Weather. Christmas with the Royal Navy was at 12:50. 1:10 was The Man Upstairs. 2:45 again the Christmas Royal Navy. That was a thing with Anthony Turner. I don't know what that was about. 3:00 was The Queen. The Treasure Seekers was at 3:10. The News at 5. Christmas, but again with the Christmas Royal Navy, was at 5:10. The film Dennis with Walter Matthau. That was quite a good film. I enjoyed that. Coronation Street was at 7. Des O'Connor's Christmas with the Stars. 8:45 with the Christmas Royal Navy. 8:55 was the News. 9:00 was Heartbeat. 10:00 was The Remains of the Day. Again, I've never seen that film. 12:30 was Fort Apache, The Bronx with Paul Newman. Sorry, my apologies. I'm not going to do this again. I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what's up with me. 2:50 was Obsession. 4:35 was The Making of 101 Dalmatians. James Bond Jr. was at 5:05 in the morning. 5:55 news was the news. Boxing Day. Again, I do apologise. I don't know what's up with me. I don't normally do that, and I don't really want to do all this again. Boxing Day. On Thursday the 26th. BBC One started the day off at 6 a.m. with Children's BBC, Joe 90 at 6. 6:25 was Santa and the Tooth Fairies, 6:50 Noddy. 7:20 was Playdays. 7:40 was Christopher and the Christmas Tree. 8:00 Christmas Time. 8:30 Little Mouse on the Prairie. 8:55 was Round the Twist. 9:20 was A Flintstones Christmas Carol. 10:10 was American Tale 5 All Goes West. 11:20 Lydia. 12:30 was News and Weather. That was followed by the new regional News and Weather at 12:55. Neighbours at 7. At 7? At 1. 1:20 was Just William. 1:50 was the James Bond film, or unofficial James Bond film, Never Say Never Again. 4:00 was The Wrong Trousers. 4:30 was The World of Peter Rabbit and Friends. 4:55 Final Score. 5:15 was the News and Weather. 5:30 was Tom and Jerry. 5:35 Neighbours. 6:00 Free Willy. I've seen bits of this film. I enjoyed it. 7:50 EastEnders. 8:20 2.4 Children. 9:00 was One Foot in the Grave. 10:00 was The News. 10:15 was Summersby. The Graduate at 12:05. Clive Anderson All Talk. Then at 2:20 and 2 was The Weather. 2:25 was Close Down for the BBC. That was Boxing Day. Meanwhile, over on ITV was Bananas in Pyjamas was at 6. 6:20 Barney and Friends. 6:30 Bug Alert. 7:30 was the News, Weather and Sport. 8:00 was the News. 8:05 was GMTV Review. The film Cannonball Run 2 was at 9:25. 11:20 was Survival Sport. 12:20 was Cartoon Time. 12:35 was Lunchtime News. 12:50 was Funny Farm. The Willows in Winter was at 2:45. 4:10 was Home and Away. 4:50 was the News and Weather. The Secret Garden was the film at 4:50. Russ Abbott Show was at 6:45. 7:30 was Michael Barrymore's Strike It Rich. 8:00 was The Bill. 8:30 was Emmerdale. Peter Benchley's The Beast was at 9. 10:30 was The News. The Lee Evans Show was at 10:40. Doorways was the film premiere at 11:40. Instant replay at 1:15. The John Carpenter film They Live at 2:20. Soundbites at 2:00. The Pickwick Papers at 4:15. That was followed by James Bond Jr. at 5:30 in the morning. And the news was at 5 to 6. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was Christmas 1996. Next week is going to be another long one because I'll be doing Christmas telly from 1997, 98 and 99 and of course the start of the millennium. I hope you've enjoyed this way. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope there hasn't been too many distractions. I do apologise for my fluffing and passing wind and everything. I don't know what's got into me today. I'm sorry, this is another long one. 30 minutes. Crikey, oh blimey. I didn't realise I could rattle on for so long. I must admit, there have been a lot of films on there that I haven't seen, and I probably don't want to see them. But yeah, anyway. Next week, 1997 and 98 and 99. See you then.